This model is of a spectacular heavy haulage combination, and it consists of two MAN heavy duty tractors and 20 lines of Scheuerle intercombi modules. It's all in the colours of Bornet, the German heavy haulage specialist. The presentation quality box comes in plenty of wrapping, and the box itself is WSI's normal high quality packaging for a model like this. Opening it up, there are pieces of waxy paper, and they're there to protect the paintwork on the model. In addition to the tractors and the modules, there are some other interesting pieces such as this load, and there's also a separate power pack for the modules. Also, and it's quite typical for a model like this, there are plenty of small parts which have to be fitted to complete the configuration. Although there's no information about the real vehicle, there is an instruction sheet with the model, and that describes how to complete the configuration. We'll start with the lead-off tractor, and that's an MAN TGX, and there's a cover that can go on the towing hitch at the front, and if your fingers are nimble enough you can pin it into position. Similarly at the rear there's a guide funnel that can be fitted, and there's a pin that goes into that. Again, we're dealing with small 1 to 50 parts here, so I promise you my fingers are not really as fat as giant pork loins. Anyway, after a bit of dexterity with my porky fingers, the towing hitch is fitted. That completes the assembly of the tractors, and now we can move on to the Scheuerle units. These are standard modules from WSI, and they all fit together in the same way with this ingenious little locking pin which secures them really well. Once that pin's done up, you have a strong connection between two adjacent modules. Much more tricky to fit properly are the two drawbars which go on each end of the trailer. These are nicely engineered parts, and they have a push-fit connection into the end of the module, and you have to push it really pretty hard to get a good connection made. But once it's in, it will stay there, and the next task is tricky, and that's to fit the steering bar, which just slots in like you're seeing here. Now, there was a problem on the review model that the small screws used to secure the steering rod are a bit too loose a fit. So if you look at this one I prepared earlier, the screws are in, but they would drop out if the module was turned upside down. Also, a couple of silver locking pins need to be added, but again on the review model the supplied ones were a bit too fat. But with the pieces supplied you can get a working arrangement, and you can see that the drawbar does indeed work the steering. At the rear end of the trailer there are a couple of light clusters to fit, and they just clip into place. And on the underneath there's a locking bar which fits into one end of the connector. At least it does if you're clever enough to put it in the hole properly. But after waking up and paying attention it goes in, and then you can clip it to the underside of the light board, and it produces a very strong connection. There are 6 different Scheuerle modules in the model, and they all have to be joined up to produce one long 20-line arrangement. And when that's done you can hook them up to the tractors. Here the silver cover plates have been fitted onto the top of the modules already, and it's fat fingers time again as we try to deal with the small parts. Anyway, practice makes perfect, so if you ever struggle with this, just set aside a day and practice it 100 times. According to the instruction sheet, there are 2 other parts which go at the front of the trailer. That's a little generator and a control console which clips onto the front. Now we'll go to the back of the trailer, and it's nice how these drawbars have little springs that keep the drawbar level. You can drive the tractor up to the drawbar, and then it's a matter of just putting the pin in to secure it. There's another part which goes at the rear of the trailer, and that's the power pack. Again, following the instructions, this goes in with the cables from the power pack going into the end of the module. The cables are actually coated wire, so they're a little bit stiff, so you just need to bend them a bit to make sure that the module kind of sits on the end in a proper orientation. Nearly complete now, and the last thing to add is the load. These replica timber balks are just put on equidistant from the centre line of the trailer, and the load goes on top, producing an impressive model that's over a metre long. We'll start by looking at the tractors, and although superficially they're similar, in detail there's lots of differences, and that includes the interior of the cabs. The lead-off tractor is an MAN TGX, and the one at the rear is a TGA, and it's good that these have been properly modelled with separate detailing, and that includes the wheel trims also. The quality of detailing is the same on both tractors, so we'll take a close look at the TGX, and the chassis is typically high quality and authentic looking. The tyres are different front and rear, and the wheel trims are very smart. The cab detailing is very good, with bonnets on the visor, and really good signage and other details such as number plates. The quality of the graphics is excellent, with tiny writing being perfectly legible. Behind the cab, the equipment tower is really nice with a high quality fan inside an enclosure. And there are coiled air lines and a non-slip surface leading to the fifth wheel. At the rear, the lights are very good with nice plastic lenses. And the ballast box has got some nice painting, and the plastic tarpaulin cover looks particularly realistic. You may be watching this video on the YouTube watch page, but if you wanted to browse through all of the Cranes Etc. TV videos, then you can click on the icon and it will take you to the channel page. The look of the channel page may change over time as YouTube updates its channel designs, but on the channel page you'll be able to see all of the Cranes Etc. TV videos. Another way you can make sure that you're always notified when a new video is published is to go to the subscribe button and click it. And then if you've got a YouTube account, you'll be notified when a new video is published. The Shoyola units are typical high quality metal parts, and that includes excellent suspension and steering detailing, and small tanks and other details underneath. Up on top, the deck plates have got a non-slip surface, and the general finish of the paintwork is very good. One particularly nice detail is the very small high quality graphics along the module edges. Another part that's particularly good on this model is the power pack. It's essentially a metal part and it's got excellent meshwork. The drawbar is also very nicely engineered, and although the generator and control console are plastic, that does allow them to be highly detailed. The load is a large resin part with SMS Mia graphics applied. For the functionality of the tractors, we'll look at the TGX, and the ballast box cover is removable. And you can also take off the ballast box, so you could hook up a conventional trailer if you wanted. If we start the engine and give it a run on the test track, then the tractor rolls along well in a straight line. And in other respects, the performance of the chassis is similar to other WSI models. There's no suspension on any of the wheels. The front wheels have link steering, but because of the highly detailed modelling, the functionality is reduced, so you can only get a limited range of movement. But at least there's some to make the model look interesting. Both the tractors have a tilting cab, and the angle is good enough that the cab can stay pose tilted. And it's good to see the very detailed engine, which has got some tiny writing on it also. When you're done, the cab shuts with a nice clunk. The Shoyola intercombi module units are the same as seen on previous models, and the engineering of these is excellent with fully working suspension, and they've got no problem rolling along in a straight line. The steering mechanism is complex, but it's been engineered really well, so on this 4-line module you can steer the rear axles and then the others steer proportionately, and that means it will trace a realistic curve when you push it along. Because this model comes in separate parts, you can configure it in different arrangements if you want. So here we're just going to set up a short configuration with the power pack driving it. It fits to the end of the modules using the locking system just like any other connection. And there's a push fit connection on the top, and when you push that in, the power pack is self-supporting. To complete this short configuration, we can add some plates to cover the steering mechanism. And in a funny kind of way, this is quite satisfying to do. And then that gives you an alternative display pose if you want it. However, if you do get a model like this, then most people will want to set it up in its full configuration. And when you do that, there's no doubt you get a very impressive model indeed. End to end, it's over 1 metre long, and that's around 40 inches. So the only issue really is to find space to display it properly. But if you're space challenged, you can always display shorter poses. Overall, there's no doubt that this is a very high quality model. The detailing is excellent and the functionality is very good too. And the complete arrangement in Bonet colours looks very convincing. This is an outstanding heavy haulage model.